Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I. Oh, wait. Remember, we're supposed to do this. It is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your Master of Fun and Wonder, your Viceroy of Verisimilitude, your Sommelier of Sci-Fi and Cinema, your Archbishop of Banterbury, your Chancellor of Cheerfulness, your Pharaoh of Physical Media, and, of course, your existential Mr. Rogers. That's right. Robert Meyer Burnett coming at you from the Robservatory. Rob casting at you, you imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity. This is Robservations episode number 514. Holy shit. That seems like a big number. My God. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the topic at hand, you were witnesses, if you were here yesterday, to the inception of what has now become the first annual Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival. That's right. You will be able to enter this film festival starting on October 1st on the website. There's going to be some kind of a nominal fee. Only because the amount of work that we've created for ourselves is going to be huge. And how it's going to work is the deadline is December 1st. No exceptions. And on December 15th, we will have the semifinalists that will be available on YouTube to watch. Those semifinalists, one of the awards that we are giving, that we're tentatively now calling the Sally Field Appreciation Award, will be, we haven't called it yet other than, it's the Sally Field Appreciation Award. We'll probably keep that. The film that gets the most likes will get an award. And then the other award categories, which we will announce on the 1st, will also receive awards. There will be cash prizes, and not insubstantial cash prizes either. There's going to be cash prizes, and the films have to be narrative films, so no documentaries. Sorry, doc makers. I like docs, but got to limit it this time. We'll expand if we get bigger. Narrative films that are 10 minutes tops. Any length of film between, I don't know, seconds to 10 minutes long. They have to be completely original. That means you can't use any music that isn't yours. It has to be original music, because anything that'll get, look at it this way, if it gets a copyright strike of any kind when it gets put up on YouTube, because you can tell, we can test, you put things up, their algorithms tell you right now. So if you're going to do it, if you're interested in entering, it all has to be completely original. That doesn't mean you can't have music. It just has to be music you've either composed, or YouTube does have free music that you can download and use. So basically, that's it. And it must be a universal premiere, which means it cannot have played anywhere on this planet, nor any planet or any space station or any kind of, well, any locale in any of the 28 known galaxies. I know somebody's going to be cheeky and say, well, what if it's from the 29th galaxy and you don't even know? Well, that's fine. We don't know. We can only cover the 28 known galaxies. So it must be a universal premiere. So that's all very exciting. We're going to have more details. You will be able to have the entry forms, and all the details will be available on October 1st on the Burnettwork.net website. So it opens, you can start now if you want, but the deadline, the absolute drop dead deadline is December 1st. That is a hard deadline. And how it's going to work, the actual film festival, we will be playing all these semifinalists on Christmas Day, ladies and gentlemen, or as I like to call it, Jewish Movie Day. Because when I was growing up, what did Christmas mean to me? It meant movies and Chinese food. So that's what's going to happen. Christmas Day, all day, we are going to be playing the movies and giving out awards. It'll be a very long Christmas show. And, well, maybe it won't be that long. I don't know how many, who knows how many entries we're going to get. We're trying this whole thing out. But as I said, cash prizes. And we're going to have celebrity judges, which, still finalizing that. But we've got some really good celebrity judges that I think you're going to be surprised by them. Some of them you won't be surprised by, but others you might be. So that's what's happening. Now, as a result of that, I'm putting a moratorium on anybody sending me videos for the channel for the foreseeable future. because I don't want anything to be conflated. I don't want anyone to think that they're going to get favoritism, anything like that. So BL, we're going to hold off on your videos, or anybody else who's been sending me videos, just hold off on them until after this contest. So, but I would expect BL to come up with something and enter the contest. And then there is something else. Every film festival needs a poster. So we're throwing it out. We're going to have a competition. From running from now until the 30th of September. We need all entries by the 30th of September. And we're going to ask you to design, we're throwing it out there for you imagination connoisseurs, design a film festival poster. I will post the text that we actually want on the poster. And whoever wins gets to be a judge. You get to be a judge. And you get to watch all of the films. So that's what we are offering. And then we'll obviously use your artwork and use your name. Put it out there in conjunction with all any media that we have for the film festival. And we want the poster to be pretty high resolution, I guess 300 DPI maybe. And the poster's dimensions need to be 26 by 40. 27 by 41, 26 by 40 with a half-inch white border. 27 by 41 is standard movie poster size. Without a border, it's 26 by 40. So we want the poster to have no border and be 26 by 40. And if you need any assets from me, like a picture of me, or something that you want to put on the poster, I don't object to that. I think, and if you want to suck up to the judges, mainly me, I would want, I've got graphics. If somebody wants to do graphics of me, that's fine. People have. But it is the Burnettwork presents the first annual Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival. Simple. And then we've got some things that we want to have put on the poster, some text, things like Christmas Day, stuff like that. I'll be posting that on the website and on Twitter, and also on the Post-Geek Singularity Facebook page. Also, the winners of this film festival, we're going to do a special Whining About Movies episode, and we're going to show the winning movies in all categories, and we're going to invite the filmmakers to come on the show live and talk about your movie. So that's about it. This is the official announcement. There's going to be a much more official announcement with all the rules and everything on the website on October 1st. But the poster contest is up on September 30th. No obligation, but the winner of that contest will become a judge for the festival. So that's pretty cool. And as I said, there will be an entry fee that we're just going to convert back into prizes and things like that. And we will be looking for, I don't know if we're going to get corporate sponsorship or anything, but if anybody out there wants to put like a product, swag, we're going to have swag bags, because all film festivals have swag bags of some kind that we will be sending out to all of the entrants of the festival. So if you have an album you want to promote or whatever, we'll put those in the swag bag, and then we will obviously put your name and whatever your stuff is, we'll put it in. I don't know if we can actually make a program. That's a little too ambitious. It's a little too ambitious. All of this is ambitious. I just can't wait to see what filmmakers are going to come up with between October and December 1st. Maybe nothing. Maybe this whole thing will be a big bust, but maybe it won't be. And again, this film festival is open to filmmakers from around the world. I would say this, however. If you shoot a film in a foreign language, you must provide at least one subtitle track in English. I know. I encourage, hey, it's my film festival. I need to know what's going on. So that's what we're doing. That's what's happening. The more official announcement's going to happen on October 1st, but I just thought I would throw it out because we're running a contest to design the poster. The last time I ran a contest to design a poster was actually for the Prelude to Axanar Blu-ray, and it turned out very well. A guy named Ron Gamble created incredible artwork, and we used it and promoted it. It was on everything. And if there's enough interest, I'll take the winning movies and we'll burn a Blu-ray. we'll make a physical media copy. We can't do a 4K, but we can do a Blu-ray, and we'll make that available as a perk or something, or maybe you can even buy it. You can support the channel, and it'd be fun to do a Blu-ray like that with all the filmmakers and add commentary and menus and all of those things. So pretty exciting, folks. The first annual Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival, brought to you by the Burnettwork. The film festival opens on October 1st. The actual drop-dead deadline is December 1st. On December 15th, we are going to put the semifinalists up to see who's going to win the Sally Field Appreciation Award. How many likes do you get? And you win the Sally Field Appreciation Award. And hey, who knows? If you know Sally Field out there, and maybe we can get an official endorsement. Maybe we can actually get her to announce the winner. I don't know. We could. And that would be kind of fun. Maybe she's on Cameo and I can just pay her to do it. But either way, fun stuff. Christmas Day special episode, the Jewish Movie Day episode of Robservations. And that will be the day where all of the semifinalists are going to be played. And it'll be the official Robservations first annual Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival, brought to you by the Burnettwork. So there you go, kids. Put on your creative hats. Let's see if you have what it takes to jump into the industry. Huh? Isn't that exciting? I'm pretty excited. I'm probably going to do another official announcement on social media later. But I will have the text that we need on the poster. I'll put that up on, again, I'll tweet it out, and I'll put it up on the Post-Geek Singularity page. So this is pretty exciting. It's open to everybody. Everybody can join in, and you'll find out what the rules are. Again, we're still finalizing that. It has to be official. So we're taking care of those things. And again, if you want to put something in a swag bag or something, and you want to promote your product or anything like that, we're going to do that. I'll be playing all kinds of things in between the films, and it should be fun. We're going to do a show where I can have people call in. If you have any interest in coming in on that day, we're going to do a big Christmas Day blowout. It should be a lot of fun, and that's when the official date of the film festival will be. And as I said, we will be playing all of the semifinalists and giving out the awards. So very, very exciting. Hope you guys like it. We'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll be a big bust and nobody will want to do anything, which is always a possibility. But one never knows. So there you go. Now, big announcement today. Big announcement. For those of you who probably already heard, Paramount Plus now exists. No longer CBS All Access. Oh, my glasses are dirty. Is going away. And in its place will be Paramount Plus. Now, I got to read a few things. The Verge published a story that cracked me up. So I'm going to read it to you. Because this was written by Julia Alexander. It was posted at 10 a.m. this morning, and it is pretty damn amusing, if I do say so myself. CBS All Access is set to become Paramount Plus next year because branding is hard. Ah, yes, Paramount, the hip studio all the kids love. Disney has Disney Plus, Apple has Apple TV Plus, and now Viacom CBS is about to have Paramount Plus. Viacom CBS announced that it would be renaming CBS All Access streaming service to Paramount Plus in early 2021. As part of the rebrand, Paramount Plus will also receive 5 new original series from different verticals across the company, including Paramount, CBS, MTV, and BET. Some new titles include The Offer, a 10-episode scripted miniseries about the making of Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, a new iteration of MTV's Behind the Music, and a revival of The Game. In addition to the new series orders announced today, CBS Viacom plans to bring more than 30,000 additional episodes and movies from its various content houses to the streaming service. I got to tell you, I'm stoked about that Godfather show. I mean, how crazy is that? But you know what I'm most stoked about? I'll bet dollars to donuts that they're going to release the Godfather movies in 4K for Christmas before the show. Woohoo! All right. Now, the obvious question here is why Paramount Plus? Paramount is a celebrated film studio, but doesn't hold the same kind of weight and affinity among consumers at large the way Disney does. What? Now, listen, Julia. Isn't that your name, Julia? What do you mean it doesn't? I mean, are you kidding me? The Godfather? I grew up loving Paramount. I saw that mountain, I got wet. Come on, man. Why do you have to say that? Paramount is a celebrated film studio, but doesn't hold the same kind of weight and affinity among consumers at large the way Disney does. Well, it's a different kind of a studio, but hello, Star Trek, The Godfather, Chinatown, Top Gun. I mean, Hunt for Red October. Plus, Paramount doesn't exactly scream for the younger generation the way that Viacom's CBS executives reportedly want it to. The whole reason for the name change is reportedly because executives thought the CBS label wouldn't bring in new subscribers, and they're probably not wrong. Talk about something that is even worse. I mean, CBS All Access, is there any? ABC and NBC are way cooler than CBS. Come on. CBS screams grandmother. I'm telling you, it does. There are a couple of reasons I get Paramount Plus. If we look at Viacom CBS's brands, there are far more consumer-friendly names like Nickelodeon, Showtime, BET, and even MTV. But Showtime already has a streaming service, and so does BET. Nickelodeon and MTV are beloved, but they also risk alienating a whole swath of potential subscribers who might see Nickelodeon and think kids programming, or MTV and think reality TV shows, or content I don't want to pay $10 a month for. If Viacom CBS wants to use one of its staples in the name, Paramount is recognizable, more accessible, and probably the best option, not to mention that Paramount Plus is the streaming service's name in parts of Europe already. Except, I would argue that Viacom CBS doesn't need to brand in its name. Again, Paramount in 2020 isn't Disney. It's not HBO or Warner Brothers. Why not drop the CBS All Access and just rebrand it as All Access? The switch reminds me of when Viacom purchased Paramount in 1994 and decided to rename the iconic book publishing house of Simon & Schuster to Paramount Publishing, only to change it back a few months later. It would be one thing if Paramount's name was going to drive hordes of people to sign up because Paramount is synonymous with big franchises in 2020. Franchises like Marvel, Pixar, and Lucasfilm are synonymous with Disney alongside Disney live action and animated films, so Disney Plus works. How many people are walking around going, oh right, the studio I closely associate with Mission Impossible, Transformers, and Sonic the Hedgehog movies? That's what branding is. Market the hell out of that shit. Look, branding is difficult. See anything related to Microsoft's upcoming Xbox launch. I'm not trying to say that coming up with the perfect name is easy. That's why there are so many pluses and maxes in our streaming world. Who knows, maybe people have a much bigger affinity for Paramount overseas, where Viacom CBS wants to expand its service. It does make me appreciate when a Peacock rolls around, though, a streaming service reliant on a ton of different NBC Universal brands that maybe don't stand out enough on their own. So a new name associated with the network is used instead. Anyway, all of this is the long way of saying your CBS All Access streaming service will become Paramount Plus in 2021. So there you go. Although, come on, I think Paramount deserves more credit than that. Come on, Julia. What's up? Now, here's another article. Bob Bakish over at, he's the Viacom CBS CEO, Bob Bakish. Jill Goldsmith wrote this article at noon, so this was published 2 hours ago. Good thing Viacom kept Paramount, storied brand, a natural for growing OTT service, says CEO Bob Bakish. Viacom CBS CEO Bob Bakish Tuesday called Paramount one of the most storied brands in Hollywood and a natural choice of name and content machine for its fast-growing OTT service in a rebrand announced this morning. Previous Viacom CEO Philippe Dauman wanted to unload the studio, or a big chunk of it, but Bakish is making it the beating heart of the company. It says here the beating heat. The beating heart of the company. Maybe it is the beating heat of the company. Ha ha ha! The studio has over a century-old legacy of producing great content. I agree with that. Is a brand that has always brought people together, and importantly, it's a brand that leverages Viacom CBS's global position with near universal brand recognition. Bakish was speaking at a Goldman Sachs media conference on a busy day for the company, which this morning announced the name and some details for Paramount Plus, a rebranding of its CBS All Access streaming service to debut early next year. Viacom CBS shares were up over 2% mid-afternoon in a flattish market. The launch news featured some original programming, including a series called The Offer, about the making of The Godfather. I'm telling you, it gets me wet. A classic Paramount franchise, a spy show, Lioness from Yellowstone co-creator Tyler Sheridan, domestically Showtime will continue to operate separately from Paramount Plus as the service rolls out internationally. However, Showtime product will be incorporated, Backish said. Most CBS All Access subscribers pay $6 a month for an ad-supported version. The ad-free version costs $9.99 a month. Julie McNamara, who heads programming for CBS All Access and Viacom CBS digital chief Mark DeBois, are discussing the content strategy of Paramount Plus at NAPD Streaming Plus this afternoon. CBS All Access and Showtime OTT will have an estimated 18 million combined paid domestic subscribers by year-end. Backish confirmed, up a hefty 60% from last year. He said Showtime added more subs in the past 6 months than it has in the past 2.5 years. Asked about advertising, he reiterated comments from another media conference last week that trends improved meaningfully in July and August and returned to pre-COVID levels at Pluto TV and other corners of the business. Pharma, retail, insurance, financial, and local advertising is picking up, the latter driven by a revival in automotive. Record political spending is yet to hit. Current third quarter advertising will be dramatically better than quarter two. The combination of assets is helping Viacom CBS Inc. more favorable combination renewals and see affiliate growth in a very tough market for a linear cable network. The conversations are much broader, Backish said, and given the breadth we now bring to bear. He said a deal announced yesterday to sell CNET Media Group for $500 million will translate to net proceeds of $350 million and allow it to pay down debt. Sales of other non-core assets, Simon & Schuster and CBS's historic Black Rock headquarters, are pending. I think it's pretty exciting. You know, I've always loved Paramount, and Paramount has really been struggling over the last couple of years, and I would hate to see Paramount disappear forever. So I think this is really cool. I'm really stoked about it, and I'm glad to see this happening. So, yeah, I think it's great. I'm very excited. I do think it's great. Anyway, so yeah, I've got so many letters to read. And listen, if anybody has any questions about this upcoming film festival, look, I can answer as many as I can. Obviously, I made this shit up yesterday on the show. And after a long talk with Mike Bodden about what we do, he was excited about it. I think it's a great way to grow the channel. I think it's also a great way to have fun. I want to see what you guys can do. Very exciting. And I'm hoping to get movies from all over the world. And we will expose them. We will show them. Then again, this film festival is only going to be as good as, well, you guys are. You guys and girls, you gentle people, you however you identify from across the 28 known galaxies. I can't wait. And we do, in fact, I put this on the Post-Geek Singularity page, and I wanted to get this correct. So remember, you're gonna like this. So our slogan, our marketing slogan is: every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. Isn't it time you tell yours? We're listening. So there you go. That's going to go on the poster too. And we hope you enjoy this. I mean, it should be fun. And look, it should all be fun. This whole thing, maybe it won't work. Who knows? But you know what? Deeds, not words. That's what it said on the Megaforce one sheet. And that's what the Megaforce team, that was their motto. Not that I think that Hal Needham's magnum opus Megaforce should be used for anybody's inspiration, but hey, why not? You know, the good guys always win, even in the 80s, right? So there you go. And let's stop and see who is here. My God, Bronze Age slacker Kurt A is here. Hi, Rob. I have been a rocket and space enthusiast all my life, and like you, I spent some time as a kid launching model rockets. So it is with a big smile every day that I see the progress SpaceX is making with the testing of their super heavy rocket known as Starship. Me too. I mean, people talk about what a dumpster fire 2020 is. Not if you're SpaceX. Way down south in Texas, next to the little village of Boca Chica, Boca Chica. Yeah, history is being made. And in the not-too-distant future, assuming Elon Musk's vision is completed, the rocket being tested there will put Americans back on the moon and on the way to Mars. With the mad rush to complete the rocket, though, I can't help but imagine a big sign showing up soon with the warning, "Time is of the essence. Only 78 days to zero." Love you, man. That, by the way, is a reference to George Powell's film, When Worlds Collide. I don't think Elon has discovered the equivalent of Belus and Zyra yet, but there are real threats to humans, not from extrasolar planets, but from climate change. According to the U.S. government website, the amount of CO2 in Earth's atmosphere is the highest it's been in 800,000 years. Yeah, but that's not real. Come on, man. They're just making that shit up. By the way, I'm going to put that link here. So, there you go. Is the highest in 800,000 years. Wow, that's even older than you. But I kid. The evidence of what this means has been evident for years. Mega floods, mega droughts leading to mega fires, record numbers of hurricanes, etc. One just has to see today's wildfires in California and Oregon, or the floods of, say, Houston, which experienced 500-year floods every year from 2014 to 2019, to see what the effect of a massive rise in Earth's CO2 is causing. Of course, there are many people who don't believe any of this, but they can believe what their insurance rates are going to rise. Insurance companies don't care what you believe, they just go by statistics, and the statistics are damning. So today, while we Earthlings struggle with the horrible effects of global climate change, a group of scientists released their findings of possible life living in the high clouds of Venus. A good explanation is found here. For those of you, there was a gas that was discovered in the Venusian atmosphere that can only be either artificially produced or produced by life, which is pretty exciting. So hang on, I'm trying to get this link for you here. Oh, man. Come on, dude. Well, I'll try and put this here and see what I'll see if this will work. So I'll put this, and here you go. Here's a link to that. Put that in the live chat there. You know what I should do is take the thing away and take. There we go. So there's a link. There you go. All right. Venus is a hothouse planet with temperatures around 900 degrees Fahrenheit, 482 Celsius, a semi-molten surface, and an acid rain atmosphere. Venus is the worst-case scenario of what could happen to Earth with a runaway release of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane. But hey, at least there's a chance that life can start again. Just my 2 cents. Thanks for all you do, Bronze Age Slacker, Kurt A. Well, Kurt, great letter. Yeah, this is, again, all kinds of excitement happening. It's really interesting, the idea of, we live in the time, I never thought I would see an anti-science bias that's politically motivated. And it's really weird. And I don't quite understand it, considering we live in a world where science has provided everything from our medical technology. Yes, vaccines are part of that. That's why, hey, polio's not so big of a problem anymore, or measles, or things like that. And it's unbelievable what technology has done. I'm talking to you. I mean, the amount of technology that is required for me to do this show. If you think about this microphone, the computer I'm using, the software I'm using, the entirety of YouTube, and where all you guys are, and all the different connections and all the infrastructure that's been built, we live in an amazing. It's an amazing time, and yet, when science delves into things like climate change, I mean, here's what I don't understand. Here's my feeling about this. Whether you believe in climate change or not, whether you believe, well, climate change has always been real, but whether you believe that it's man-made or not, here's what I don't get. Like, you wouldn't leave your kitchen 10% dirty. I mean, maybe as a bachelor, come on. But you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't leave your kitchen 10% dirty. You wouldn't leave like a pile of dirt and festering dishes in a corner. I don't understand why strict environmental laws aren't always in place everywhere. One of the places that have been to and lived was New Zealand. And when you go to the beach in New Zealand, there's even signs about how much fish or how many things you're allowed to take out of the sea. Now, I don't know if you can get arrested. I don't know, but they're very mindful of the environment in New Zealand. And I've never understood, like, when I first came to LA, one of my first days here, there was a chick in a white cabriolet, because it seemed like in the late 80s, all girls drove white cabriolets. But she was driving in front of me, and it was at the corner of Wilshire and Santa Monica Boulevard. I was traveling toward West Hollywood, because, I hadn't been here yet. I had to go check out Boys Town, right? So I'm going to West Hollywood, and literally this girl, I'm in the far right lane. She's in this lane. She's in the outside right lane. She just dropped her cup, like I don't remember, it was like a Slurpee cup, like, a big gulp cup, just dropped it on the ground, like right in the middle of the road. I literally rolled up, leaned over, I had to open my door, and I grabbed the cup, and I picked it up. People were honking at me. People were like, what the hell? And, hey, man, I just got to L.A. I figured, what the hell? So I drove up next to her, and I flung the cup back in her car, and I screamed, you dropped this. Like, I don't understand, man. I don't understand this idea that why do people rescind environmental controls? Why do we allow drilling? I get it. There's the economic necessity of it all. But why do we want to keep our planet 10% dirty? Like, we live in a closed ecosystem. When you dump something outside, it's not going to just stay outside. I mean, groundwater, all kinds of things. I mean, this idea that we live in a closed system. Everything comes back to haunt us at some point in a closed system. We can't do anything about it, so we got to be mindful and, I would say take care of ourselves, but we don't. Just my thoughts about that. Ian Samuels is here. Rob and fellow Robservationists. Many successful situation comedies get the spin-off treatment, most with little success. Sometimes a gem of a spin-off happens, such as Frasier being a successful spin-off from Cheers. Some even get the prequel treatment. The long-running successful BBC sitcoms of both Only Fools and Horses and Last of the Summer Wine were treated to this indignity with Rock and Chips and First of the Summer Wine. But not many have had a follow-up series, not a spin-off but kind of sequel series. Are You Being Served, which ran for 13 years following a team in gentlemen and ladies' clothing departments at the Grace Brothers store, got a follow-up 7 years after called Grace and Favor, or as it was known in the United States, Are You Being Served Again? But one series, are you going to talk about Joni Loves Chachi? Because you better. And Mork and Mindy was a spinoff, believe it or not. One little series known outside the UK is the Dick Clemens and Ian Lafrenice penned The Likely Lads. It was a breakthrough hit for Clemens and Lafrenice, I don't know how you pronounce his name, who would go on to further success with the likes of Porridge, Alvider St. Pet, Lovejoy, and Spender. For our American audiences, I'm like, what? The Likely Lads ran from 1964 and 66 with 2 seasons. Unfortunately, it suffered from the BBC reusing videotape policy, and many of the episodes have been lost. The series follows Bob Ferris, played by Rodney Bewes, and Terry Collier, played by James Boland, as 2 lads from the North End of England making their way in life at work at Ellison's Electrical and at play as they desperately try to get laid. But Bob is in love with his on-off school sweetheart, Thelma Chambers, played by Bridget Forsyth, and in the final episode, Bob signs up to join the army, leaving Terry without his wingman and best friend. So Terry, too, decides to sign up, but as he joins, Bob is discharged for having flat feet. So the last scene is of Bob waving Terry off as he's driven away by the army truck. But just over 5 years later, in January of 1973, Terry has returned after serving 5 years. Bob is engaged to Thelma, and they have a car. Bob works for Thelma's dad, and they have bought a new build house, and that is how Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads begins. It also gets 2 seasons and a Christmas special. They follow Terry as he tries to reintegrate into the town he grew up in, but has changed dramatically during the 5 years he was in the army. We discover that during the time he was away, Terry, the perpetual bachelor, had actually married a German girl named Jutta, who he just met in a massage parlor when having problems with his back pain. Sure he did. But Terry sees Bob as a class traitor, with Bob having improved himself. His job with Thelma's father, George, played by Bill Owen, who had appeared in Carry On, Cabby, and would go on to Clements and Lafrenice. So it's Lafrenice? Other piece of Last of the Summer Wine. Bob is working his way up to being middle class, and Terry doesn't like it, but their friendship is stronger than class boundaries, and Terry is best man at Bob and Thelma's wedding. It's a fun series, well worth a view, with references to teach any viewer about the northeast of England in the 60s and early 70s and class struggles. Ian, I want to thank you for that letter. None of that made any sense to me because I've never heard of any of those shows. I'm sure other people have because we have UK viewers. But a good letter nonetheless. See, I learned something every day. Dean Mikitich. Haven't heard from Dean in a while. Another letter from the UK. Hi, Rob and the PGS. Rob, I hope you or your viewer from Toronto, Canada might be able to help with this. Back in 1995, I visited family who live in Toronto. While staying with them, I got changed to go to the cinema. I had to choose between two films, The Net, starring Sandra Bullock, and Virtuosity with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. I had no idea what these movies were about, and I loved Bullock and Speed the year before I went with The Net. Now, while waiting for the film to start, I distinctly remember seeing a teaser trailer for John Carpenter's Vampires, which I have on a beautiful Indicator Blu-ray. While it was only a teaser trailer, it really stuck in my memory, and for a 14-year-old, it looked freaking awesome. Once back in the UK, I was waiting with anticipation for Carpenter's Vampires to come out, but it never did until 1999. Now, back in those days, it was not unusual for films to be released in the UK months after the US and Canada releases, if at all. The Net came out in the UK 4 months after I'd seen it in Canada. As for Virtuosity, when it was released, it was barely noticed in the UK and came out nearly 9 months after my Canada visit. So when John Carpenter's Vampires finally came out in the UK, I thought the UK release was delayed for one reason or another. Maybe the BFI had banned it at first, which would explain why it took 4 years of me waiting for it to come out. With Mr. Jones' tip from episode 512, it reminded me of this. So I did a little digging to find out why Vampires took so long to come out in the UK. On reading the wiki page, I was shocked to see that Vampires' principal photography did not start until June of 1997. How can I have a vivid memory of seeing a teaser trailer for John Carpenter's Vampires 2 years before a single frame had been shot? Is this the Mandela effect? Does anyone else remember seeing this teaser trailer in front of The Net? If the teaser trailer was not for Carpenter's Vampires, then what the hell was it for? Peace and long life from the possible multiverse jumping Dean Mikitich. Well, sir, have you ever gone to, let's see, I'm going to type in John Carpenter's Vampires. What should I say? What should I call it? Carpenter's Vampires teaser trailer? Let's see. Let's see if there is one. There's an official trailer from 1998. There's no teaser trailer. It's all the same. Huh. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Maybe this could be... This is different. Let's see. I mean, I can't play it because I'll probably get demonetized or something, but hey. Largo Entertainment? No, they already shot it. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know. I don't know what to say. But, you know, there are movies that have trailers made for them before they come out. So that isn't unusual. It doesn't really happen anymore now, like now in production trailers. They don't do that much. But, yeah, how mysterious. I don't know what you saw. Maybe it was for a similar vampire movie. I don't know. Maybe some of our Canucks can help us out with this mystery. I think that's pretty cool. Jeffrey Allen is here. Jeffrey Allen says, "Hi, Rob. Thanks for reading this. It is my first time writing, and I wanted to know your insights on the lawsuit Robert Kirkman, creator of The Walking Dead, initiated against the AMC network. Now, this must be different than Frank Darabont's suit. I am not sure if you know the background, so let me give you the Cliff's Notes version. In 2017, Robert Kirkman, along with several producers, one of which was Gale Ann Hurd, sued AMC over profits. Their argument was that they were cheated out of profits from the long-running drama to include the spin-offs. In July of this year, a California judge ruled that AMC had been correctly compensating Kirkman and the show's producers. The judge ruled in favor of AMC on all 7 issues that Kirkman and his lawyers raised, including contract language around the license fees and modified adjusted gross receipts. My question is, do you think Kirkman got disenchanted with the Walking Dead series after dealing with AMC? I have the opinion that Kirkman got disgusted with AMC, so he canceled his Walking Dead comic series abruptly in July of 2019. I know he says that he wanted to end the comic on his own terms and feared lack of material to continue. However, I think he became disillusioned with the AMC and not getting his fair share of the profits off the series, so he decided to burn the world he created down and essentially take away their source material. The main Walking Dead series has been a moneymaker for AMC, and now they're going to end their cash cow with an expanded Season 11 set to air in 2021 and end in 2022. However, they are going all Kirkman Trek with a bunch of spin-off series that will most likely be 25% different like Fear the Walking Dead, which I feel is done intentionally as not to pay Kirkman and the producers that created it. In addition, a new series is in development featuring fan favorites Carol and Daryl, which is a shameless ploy to exploit the fame of Norman Reedus, and he portrays Daryl on the main Walking Dead series, who has had a career resurgence since season 1 of The Walking Dead. Given that the main Walking Dead comic ended abruptly without a logical ending, I think going the spin-off route and ending the main series is AMC's way of trying to keep the cash cow going without Kirkman and crew along for the ride. I'm not sure if it will work, given that most fans and viewers view the spin-offs as watered-down versions of The Walking Dead, with ratings slipping year after year. If you made it this far, Rob, I thank you for reading, and I look forward to your insights. Well, first of all, Hollywood is a terrible place. Everyone is looking to fuck you. Literally, figuratively, economically, you name it. People will fuck you in this town however they can. And usually it's over money or credit or both. So you don't get what you negotiate. I mean, you don't get what you deserve in Hollywood. You get what you negotiate. So what you need, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gentle beings, however you identify from across these 28 known galaxies, remember, whenever you're dealing with any kind of creative endeavor, make sure it's on paper first. Even if it's a one-pager, even if it's with your friend, that you've loved for years, all you do is write down a paragraph of here is what is expected of you, and here's what is expected of me, and here's what's expected of us. Even if it's a one-page agreement that doesn't even have to be notarized, you both sign it. That way, if there's a dispute, you can always point to it and go, yeah, but this is what we agreed. And whenever I see these things happen, and here's the problem. When you have a TV show, most TV shows, they don't have more than one season. They seldom make it past their first season. But nowadays, you never know when a show's going to catch fire. The Walking Dead exploded. Look, and The Walking Dead has Frank Darabont was that first casualty. I'm not so much as abreast of the Robert Kirkman suit, but I believe it, because The Walking Dead got hugely popular and hugely successful and has made billions of dollars for AMC, and everybody wants their chunk of cheddar, and they should get their chunk of cheddar. But if your contract doesn't say you're entitled, I think creators should, Lord of the Rings was not a SAG film. So when those movies became hugely successful, obviously the cast was a little disgruntled, but Peter Jackson made sure everybody got paid. That's what you do. I mean, I think that's how you do good business, because in my mind, what you are doing with a career in the entertainment business is you're building longevity. A lot of people think they want to get as much as they can up front and get out. But you know what? In my experience, even though, it hasn't worked out for me, I've found that what you really want to try and do is keep relationships alive, because you'll keep working with people. And I think in the long run, you might wind up being far richer. But when you have a show like Walking Dead, the spinoffs, Robert Kirkman has a piece of all of that. He's still going to get paid. He's just not getting paid what he should. I mean, someone's clocking $1 billion, a lot of money. A successful TV show that has worldwide syndication is worth a lot of money every year. I mean, I could tell you what Bryan Singer made off House. He was the executive producer. It would curl your toes to know. He directed the pilot and one other episode, and that's it. But because he directed the pilot, he was an executive producer on every episode of House. House ran 8 seasons. I can't even begin to tell you how much money he made off that show, because it would be gauche and I would be betraying a trust. So I will not. Just suffice to say, if any one of us would live for the rest of our lives, you could have, like kings. Kings, you can do whatever you want. But so that's what happens in TV. So while Robert Kirkman has and that's exactly why you're not going to see Secret Hideout giving up Star Trek anytime soon, until someone literally throws them out the plane without a parachute, because it's too lucrative. Once you're into that world, you're getting a lot of money, and the benefits, if you have a long-running show, are very tasty. So, I mean, I'm sure ending the comic was his way. I don't know, man. I guess that's what he was doing. I can understand, but he has to sign off on spin-offs and things like that. He's getting money. I mean, I think a lot of the time too, the falling ratings on that show, how the show's a little repetitive. So, but who knows? Again, I don't know much about this. I don't know anything about this particular lawsuit, but that's kind of what I would think. So remember, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. So kids, get it on paper, and make sure that you have somebody who's looking over that paper for you that knows all the ins and outs of the entertainment business. Because remember, everyone is looking to fuck you in whatever way they can. And sometimes it's consensual, but other times, no. So this one comes from Danny Boy. Oh, hello there, Danny Boy. Greetings, Rob, in the Post-Geek Singularity. Just to remind you from my last letter, I've started upgrading my movie collection to 4K, and I've enjoyed those movies in their awesome clarity, color, and definition after getting a hold of Studio Canal's 5-disc Flash Gordon box set. Man, is that tasty. Because of Santa Throg, we gave away one of those sets, and Paul in Long Beach won it, believe it or not. It's out of print. It's gone. Gone. So far, I've replaced my DCEU. You'd think I've had a lot of coffee today. I really haven't. So far, I've replaced my DCEU collection, which unfortunately included the theatrical version of Justice League, purely because I purchased the movies as a box set collection, but thankfully didn't include Birds of Prey. The box set was only £70, which is a bargain, considering if I was to buy them separately, then they would have cost me about £120, $150 without Justice League, so it was a small compromise. Also, I replaced my Star Wars collection with the Skywalker box set. I did too. And yes, I'm not a great fan of the sequel movies. I am not a fan of them as well. But the box set is a smart collector's piece. It is. And there's an abundance of bonus content. The only letdown was not including Rogue One and Solo. I know technically they're side movies, but they did occur after the prequel trilogy, building up to A New Hope. It wouldn't have hurt to include them. Hence, I bought them separately. I don't get that, man. I honestly don't understand why they just called it the Skywalker Saga and put all the movies in. What brain trust was thinking that? They should have put them both in. The other movies include 4K restorations of The Fifth Element. By the way, I just got that. I haven't looked at that yet, but everyone says it's tasty. Blade Runner, the final cut. Blade Runner 2049. By the way, the Blade Runner 2049 disc. Oh, one of the it might have the greatest sound mix I've ever heard. That and Apocalypse Now. Jaws, the extended cut of the Blues Brothers. Absolutely love that movie. And not forgetting the movie that started my love for superheroes, Superman the movie. On that note, if I had one gripe with the 4K version, one gripe with 4K versions, then Superman the movie would be it. For most of the movie, the restoration is okay, I guess, if a little grainy, but it really seems to be off about 85 minutes or 90 minutes in. This is the night flying sequences with Superman and Lois Lane, which looks like they're in front of a slightly out of focus projection screen, which they are, but the separate aerial shots of the Statue of Liberty inserted in the middle of the sequence is really clear and crisp. Yeah, it's because of the Zoptic process, but yes. Part of that same sequence shows them flying around Lady Liberty, and that's also out of focus, and totally contrasts with the said aerial shot. Yes, that's not the disc's fault. That's how the movie was made. And you're looking at a stock shot. Well, maybe it's not a stock shot. It may be second unit shot of the actual Statue of Liberty. And then what you're seeing is a process shot where there's a projection, and then that projection's being filmed. And so you're distancing away. That's why it doesn't look so good. These are the things that 4K will, unfortunately, showcase. Part of the same sequence shows them flying around Lady Liberty, and that's also out of focus or totally contrasts from the aerial shot. As I stated in my first letter to you, Rob, this movie convinced my childhood imagination that a man really could fly. What do you mean he can't? Of course he can. Convinced me. Of which I also stated still held up today, but after I watched the 4K restoration of Superman, I really felt let down. At first, I thought the restoration may have been difficult or problematic due to the movie being so old, but then I watched the Blues Brothers, Jaws, and Blade Runner, which are just as old. Their restorations are vibrant and crystal clear. They were awesome. I remember you talking about restorations from one of the letters you read out on Robservations 511, specifically that it's not just the techniques involved, but also the people who acquire the skills to apply those techniques. Historians, I think you said, and also really important are colorists and people that really understand both how a movie originated, what kind of film stock was being used, the speed at which it was shot, that kind of thing. Maybe the restoration for Superman the movie just fell in the wrong hands, or maybe not. Either way, I'm just bummed out that my childhood fantasy of my favorite superhero has been somewhat crushed. I would say this to you. I would offer a different point of view. What you are seeing is not a facture? not a function or a factor. A factor. It's not. It's not the fault of the transfer. It's the actual source material. And frequently, there's a lot of people, and I don't mean to slam on millennials, but there's a lot of, and Generation Z, there's a lot of younger people when they start looking at 4K discs, especially of older movies, because they don't look as crisp and clear as, say, Toy Story, and they can see grain and the photochemical process is very apparent, or they'll watch a movie like Close Encounters or Ghostbusters, where the visual effects are grainier and you really see when things are optically printed. That is just a function of how movies were made back then. And when, there's not much you can do unless you go in and do some serious digital restoration. But that's really not, that's not what people really are about. Like, I have no problem if they go in and remove the wires from the Flying Monkeys or the War Machine in War of the Worlds and Wizard of Oz, respectively. I don't have a problem with that. Because the filmmakers wouldn't have wanted that at the time either. They just didn't have the technology to do that. But when you go in and start monkeying with to try and fix the fact that this was shot or composited optically, or it was the Zoptic Zoran Perisic, I forget his last name, who created the Zoptic process that allowed Christopher Reeve to fly. That was just a function of how it was done in the day. You know what? Rather than let it take you out of it, I would see if you can maybe convince yourself or talk yourself into it and see, look at it as an artifact of its time. And remember, audiences had never seen anything like that before, so they weren't as well trained as we are now. So don't let it diminish your love of the film, because you don't let, like, obvious model work, like the dam breaking, even though it's beautiful Derek Medding's model work, it's a model. So you don't sit there and go, oh my God, that looks like such a miniature, I'm not going to like this scene. No, it's all part of the charm, I think, of how movies were made in the day. That's why I still go back and I marvel at movies like Metropolis or science fiction. There's a lot of science fiction and horror films and things like that from the silent era. You're like Murnau's Sunrise, just somebody walks into their shop. There's great stuff. Learn to love the past. It's a good job now. It's a good job now that I've got the 4K versions of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman to enjoy. Yeah, and think about that. Look at how different those movies look from Superman the movie. You're talking about 78 to, it's 42 years later. In my opinion, I think they were actually more colorful and clear than the original Blu-rays, absolutely, while still keeping Zack Snyder's gritty aesthetic. I will be replacing more movies, and when I can afford to do so, I'm eyeing up Alien and the Matrix trilogy for my next ventures. I wish John Carpenter's The Thing and pre-Kelvin Star Trek movies would be put to 4K. Me too, although I believe Star Trek 2 is available as a download. Especially the 2001 director's cut of the motion picture with the enhanced special effects. But at the moment, one will have to dream. There is a little movement on that. I can't talk about what I know, but there is a little movement on the director's cut of the motion picture. Live long and prosper, be safe. Danny boy, living in a little market town in Somerset, UK. My feeling about 4K discs, my favorite 4K discs are 4K discs when they go back and they touch the original negative and they make new transfers, because even the Matrix was finished on film, and so my God, the Matrix, those discs are beautiful. They're a huge step up from the first Blu-rays, really are, and I can't recommend them highly enough. Alien, love it, but I can't decide whether it's a little dark or not. I don't know, but it's still great. And when you look at photochemical movies, meaning movies on celluloid, I can't get enough of 4K, because movies like that benefit. Again, you look at Apocalypse Now in 4K, man, it's stunning. Talk about erection inducing. I got a Major Woodman when I started. He stood up and saluted when I saw that transfer. Oh my God. And it's amazing to see what they can do with these transfers. But again, you need a colorist who knows what they're doing. And you really need somebody who really understands, and that's what a great colorist can do. A lot of colorists today, give me a colorist that's old and grizzled and has gray hair and a paunch and he's been working in the business for 50 years. Give me that guy, because they know color timing, color grading is an art, and you want somebody that is an artist. This comes from Laser Beam Hawkins. Laserbeam Hawkins says, "Hi, Rob. I was shocked and disgusted by the marketing of the film Cuties and felt the same as the masses that wanted to break out the torches and pitchforks upon seeing the ads. I took your recommendation to watch it before passing judgment and calmly did, so here's how I took it. While I'm still disgusted with the way it was marketed, and I believe that it does not belong on a streaming platform that kids have access to, I do understand the point the director and the story are attempting to make, but it crosses too many lines, and by the end, I felt the message trying to be conveyed wasn't that clear. It's the same disgust I had for the movie Kids that came out in the 90s, yeah, though the HIV message and the underage sex subject clearly gets conveyed. I thought that was an okay art film with a decent soundtrack, but I don't want to watch that ever again. Another film that also made me uneasy that dealt with underage girls dancing provocatively was Donnie Darko. Come on, man, are you not a fan of sparkle motion? Come on. Though the HIV message, though it's thankfully not the main plot point in the film, and I very much enjoyed that film for everything else that was in it. Ultimately, I feel the film Cuties was made for the shock reaction it has received, and in addition has been marketed to pedophiles on a worldwide grandiose scale via Netflix. No matter what Netflix management now says, most of the world we know will remember this movie as the way they advertised it, and it feels like it's marketed to young girls too. Was there good acting in the film? Yes. Was it a good plot? Yes. Was there good direction? I'd say half. I cringed at the close-up shots of those girls twerking and the sex talk in the bathroom. The lesson learned is never really extrapolated for the viewer, and by the end, I had more questions as to what was the point of this story. I won't go into spilling the end, but will summarize by saying I don't believe the writer of this to be nefarious, but she should have never allowed it to be released on a streaming service such as Netflix. I sideline this with other films that I never want to see again for various reasons. Requiem for a Dream comes to mind, although the director's cut 4K of that disc is coming out, and I'm going to bust on that. It will be interesting to hear your professional critique of this controversial film. Thank you for all you do, and to yourself and the rest of the Post-Geek Singularity, live long and prosper. Well, I was tipped yesterday $15 to watch it, which I have not watched because we had shows yesterday. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. I mean, my feeling is this. You know, first of all, with pedophilia, I believe, like, you don't just have to have sexually suggestive material. I think pedophilia is an actual affliction. It's a diagnosed condition, and I think the people that suffer from it need help, absolutely. And it's hard to get them help because there's such a stigma surrounding it. It's a horrible thing. But still, people need help. And I don't think you need necessarily cuties. I think it's pretty much any people can find stimulation, you know, if they're that way. They don't need a movie like Cuties to get them to stimulate them, although I understand what you're saying. I also think that while I can't defend, I don't want to defend these things to people because people's opinions about them are very real, and I've heard a lot of both pro and con things. But, you know, I also think that there's cultural differences as well. I mean, the way Netflix marketed the film was abhorrent. I mean, it was terrible. It really was. And it did a great disservice to the film. And I can't help but wonder if Netflix had never done that and just recycled the original French posters showing those girls with shopping bags like they just came back from the mall. I wonder if there would have been a controversy at all, because this kind of controversy didn't really erupt when the film was at Sundance. It certainly didn't erupt with audiences that saw the film. And the critical establishment, you know, looked at it. I wonder, I think the way the film was marketed really tainted people's perceptions of it. But, you know, after watching it, you came away and you didn't, I mean, you said that there's a lot of things that are objectionable that made you uncomfortable, but you also said good things about the movie. And also, you know, in France, too, I remember when Luc Besson's Leon came out, The Professional, and they did cut some of that movie out in America. It's edited. The French version's different because of the implications of the relationship between Leon and Matilda in that movie. And I completely understand that. And I've seen other films, Swedish movies. You know, even I remember My Life as a Dog had some pretty bawdy coming-of-age sexuality in it. And I think that there is I don't know. I mean, it's a tough one. I really need to see the movie before I can comment further, I think. I need to see the film. But I think your letter, look, I appreciated your letter. It was reasonable, and you were stating your case very, very well. And you watched the film. So I think that your opinion, your take was very, very valid and fair. So I want to thank you for that. But yeah, I'm going to have to watch the movie and get back to you on that. Doc Vader is here. by the way. But thanks for writing that letter. Doc Vader's here. Once again, we've been getting Mike F. and Doc Vader talking about our Philippine. We're getting a fix. I've never heard so much about Philippine fantasy cinema. Hey, Rob, hats off to Mike F. for continuing letters about Philippine movies. Just wanted to add on to his letter on Filipino science fiction films. The first sci-fi film was made during the 50s with possible influences from War of the Worlds and Day the Earth Stood Still. Exker from 1956 was an alien invasion movie that was based on a serialized story from a local magazine. It featured flying saucers destroying most of the buildings in the capital, such as City Hall, main bridges, and the post office. Oh man, I want to see this. I first found out about this movie while looking at a catalog book of old Filipino film posters and was quite intrigued. Sadly, there is no known surviving copy, as during that time producers treated films as product that is dispensable. However, in 1958, we had our own moon landing movie with Xerox. With the popularity of The Road Warrior, though, Corman's main point man in the Philippines, director Creo Santiago, churned out a lot of post-apocalyptic movies filmed locally for an international audience. Films such as Wheels on Fire, Dune Warriors, and Striker, to name a few. A lot of sci-fi elements found in movies here are mainly incorporated in comedy, action, and fantasy movies. Wooly Bully, My Alien Classmate, and its sequel, Wooly Bully 2, My Alien Teacher, is one example. These are comedic films of an extraterrestrial who disguises himself as a regular person and tries to live life normally without using his alien powers, like Kyle MacLachlan in The Hidden. Next up is Super Mouse and the Robo-Rats. It has a very Superman-like premise. Mickey, abandoned as a child, grew up amongst a circus troupe, not knowing he's part of an alien mouse race, which has superpowers on Earth. A pun of sorts was the word Borat, which is close in spelling and pronunciation of a word in Filipino that means the head of a penis. Next up is Super Wan Tu Tree. Oh, Super Wan Tu Tree. It is a film about the changing fortunes of three lowly balut It's about the changing fortunes of three lowly balut, which are cooked unborn duck egg vendors, that adopt a child from another planet. We round it out with Fly Me to the Moon, in where Tito, Vic, and Joey, a popular comic trio, goes back in time to different periods of Philippine history, visit another planet, and eventually land on the moon. In 2010, computer-animated 3D film RPG Metanoia was released. With the popularity of MMORPG games locally, this movie was about an 11-year-old boy's adventure in saving the world from the virus-infected Metanoia game from taking over the world. A more recent science fiction movie that did the festival rounds was Almunum. Almunum? The word means the vapor that rises after it hits the ground. The movie is set in a dystopian future of an uninhabitable planet where the government forbade farming and have made it illegal. That doesn't seem too smart. A family with deep agricultural roots set to oppose the government by finding plants that can grow on barren conditions. I think they should just grow pot and get everyone stoned. Then the government would probably go back on that. I'm not sure why we haven't really made strides in making science fiction movies, but my gut feeling will always be that culturally, we do not associate ourselves with having a great science or technology industry, and the masses often find it too intelligent of a picture to be entertained. Certainly, I do hope the younger generation, with now unlimited access to information, can do better. May the force always be with you and all of my fellow imagination connoisseurs. Doc Vader. Well, Doc, I got to tell you, between you and Mike F., I love these letters. I love finding out about the Philippine science fiction horror film community or movies that have been made. It's pretty dope. I really like hearing about this, but it makes me I now have to go see all these movies. Cinema Gulp is here. Hey Rob, in the Post-Geek Singularity, I am writing to you today because I've been really enjoying your commentary on editing and some of the editors that you admire. I myself am an editor, having gotten my BA in film with a concentration in editing from Columbia College, Chicago. I was really intrigued when you mentioned that you actually cut an entire feature film on Final Cut X. I could not see myself doing it. I know, right? Thanks to Bing Bailey, who said, you should cut this on Final... I will say this. What was really great about Final Cut X is manipulating files that are 5K 5K files was really easy. It never crashed. It was very stable. And almost every one of our shots, I manipulated the framing of it somehow. So literally, it was pretty great. What just sucked is the magnetic timeline for audio. I don't know why they did that. I mean, I heard, like, I used to love Final Cut 7. I did all of the Star Trek documentaries on my laptop in Final Cut 7, all of them. We sent them out, and the sound mixing was different, but I'm seeing the spinning angle or the spinning wheel of death. Oh well. But I love Final Cut 7, but the audio is great. You exported OMF files, you sent them to your sound designer, done. Not so with Final Cut X. What were they thinking? I don't know. So that was a bummer. I could not see myself doing it. However, having been brought up on Avid in college, that's what I would normally use, and cut several shorts as well as documentaries on the Avid, I was always a big fan of the user-friendly approach to Final Cut 7, but was never able to get into Final Cut Pro X. I'm an editor who always works from left to right, top to bottom, the way the traditional editing program interface is operated. Yes. As of 2012, when Adobe Premiere changed their interface to mimic Final Cut 7, I've been cutting on Premiere. I find it works so well with Media Encoder when it comes to compression that I just can't move back into Avid these days. But mostly working from home, I find the convenience of Adobe Creative or Adobe CC extremely helpful. Listen, Premiere to me is overly complex. I mean, it works. It's too much like a computer program, and it's not as intuitive to me. I've been using it on this animated series, but I'm not great with Adobe Premiere only because I haven't spent much time working on it. But anyway, but enough about my editing preferences. I was curious if you have an all-time favorite editor. For me, it's Howard Smith. He's edited, you know what? If you're going to saw Howard Smith, I think that Frank Uriosti and Conrad Buff are two of my favorite modern editors. He's edited some of my favorite films and always seems to be the director's lucky charms on some of their films. And also, Stuart Baird's really good, too, even though I'm sure he's kind of a dick in person, but I've never met him. Catherine Bigelow found much success with Smith on such films like Near Dark, Point Break, Strange Days, and K-19 The Widowmaker. Not sure if there's a falling out between the two of them, but he didn't continue on with Bigelow during her most recent Oscar-worthy films. Yeah, I don't understand that. I love the work he did on Strange Days and Point Break and Near Dark. Whatever the case was, he's an incredible and revolutionary editor who literally invented techniques that are used by other editors all the time. I love his philosophy on the art of cutting. He quoted in a 1991 interview with Millimeter magazine, "I think that there is a language that people learn in cinema and they may not be able to articulate it, but they know it." I totally agree with that. This comes from an editor who knows how to and loves to break all the rules of editing. In his 40-year career as an editor, Smith has cut many fine films, some questionable choices, Snakes on a Plane, and even a few masterpieces. My all-time favorite film, Strange Day, At Close Range, Glengarry Glen Ross, to name a few. I guess you meant Strange Days. This is a man who got himself in the door of Hollywood without the help of family members or childhood friends. He first broke into the business when he directed and edited the 1972 documentary Marjo about Marjo Gortner. The film won the Academy Award for Best Documentary that year. Since then, Smith has cut a little bit of everything. One of the reasons I believe him to be a cutting genius is his ability to cut any type of film and give it the mood that is required of it, while still leaving his specific stamp on the work. He's done it all. Horror, action, sci-fi, drama, comedy, and Fallout stage play work like Glengarry Glen Ross. In the mid-'80s, Smith hooked up with soon-to-be mega superstar James Cameron. Cameron was working on Near Dark with Bigelow that had no distributor at that point. Smith was looking for something different, and working on Twilight Zone the movie got him more acquainted with fantasy films. When the cutting was completed, the film was well received by critics who thought that the film was a masterpiece of suspense and creepiness. The credit obviously went in the direction of Bigelow, but the editing could not go unnoticed. When dealing with such a low-budget film, the editing is particularly important because it sometimes has to compensate for lack of footage or other material not there. Amen, as you will see with Tango Shalom. In 1989, he began cutting Cameron's underwater epic The Abyss, which would also receive good reviews but minimal box office success. By the way, The Abyss is a beautifully cut movie. We recently watched the director's cut for Whining About Movies, and oh my God. He has also cut films for Bigelow, such as the aforementioned Point Break, Strange Days, and the book adaptation The Weight of Water. Smith's most interesting technique is his desire to cut film with the score already complete. He doesn't like cutting a film with a generic score that will ultimately be replaced upon completion of picture lock. His style is to contact the composer that the studio has chosen and work with them so that when he begins to cut scenes that fit right, the music is already in place. Some editors would call that cheating, but I call it genius. I am a big fan of that because, look, a movie is a combination of music is there. Music is rhythmic. I mean, it's very frustrating to cut a movie without music, and then you put it in, you have a temp track, and then you get back other music the composer's done. When we started getting in final music for Tango Shalom, I was recutting picture. I absolutely will do that. You have to. He is another editor who tends to go with performance first over movement or anything else. He truly holds on shots and lets them work themselves out before giving them a break. This is attributed to his particular style of editing. For instance, Smith is a huge believer in the L cut. He says that if an editor doesn't use it in a highly dialogue-driven scene, the scene just does not look right. I tend to agree. He explains that the situation with 1986's At Close Range was that he was told to cut the conversation scenes to move back and forth from one actor to the other. This did not end up looking right in his opinion, but he wasn't going to argue with the director. He feels that the first line in editing is to mold the performance and get that right, and the second is to make sure that the intent of the scene comes through. I agree with that 100%. He knows how to cut the stands out. He knows how to cut for a consistent film to flow with almost no attention toward the editing, but in the back of the viewer's mind, they see something they can't explain. I agree. Smith is a great film editor and knows no limitations. Anyway, Rob, I just wanted to chime in and tell you about my favorite editor and how studying his films has molded me into a much lesser version of an editor, but an editor nonetheless. He's behind so many great films. I think yourself and the entire Post-Geek Singularity should check out his IMDb. It will blow your mind. He's sort of falling to the wayside these days, but his career is prolific, and it's hard to find an editor who tops this filmography. Remember, we are talking about Howard Smith. So go look up Howard Smith's editorial, his IMDb. I agree. You are the best, Rob. Why, thank you. Thank you, as always, for reading my letters and putting your whole thoughts out there every day for people like us to congregate and listen to. Rob the Wise. Uh-oh, do I have to... Is somebody going to make me artwork? Uh-oh. I have some photos to show you from my 2016 visit to the Seattle EMP Museum of the Star Trek exhibit. I'll use the provided email address. Did you see me? I was in that exhibit. They had me on video. They interviewed me. By the way, if you're interested in the horror film It Follows, I have a recent episode of my show, Film and Vinyl, that breaks down the making of the creepy and eerie score by Disaster Piece. Ooh, that's cool. Boy, I have to tell you, though, It Follows was... I thought the first half was so good, and then after the boathouse scene, it went just to hell for me. I was angry when I left the theater. I was so looking forward to that movie, and I'm like, how do you fuck up such a good movie? The movie was so creepy. The first 45 minutes were so good, and then it's like, what? You're violating your own rules? You don't even know. And then I found out, no, they didn't know. They had this great premise that they couldn't pay off. I was pissed. Why did that have to be that way? Come on, man. Scotty McPherson is here. Hello, Rob. I made a movie. Uh-oh. Here's the thing. Should I put in the link? Wait a minute. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna say, this comes from Scotty McPherson. I was just listening to your show, as I do almost every day, and my ears perked up when you threw down the challenge for everyone to make their own movies. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, kind souls, gentle beings, however you identify from across these 28 great known galaxies. We've announced, if you didn't see the top of the hour, the Imagination Connoisseur, the Burnettwork presents the first annual Robservations Imagination Connoisseur Film Festival. And it opens up on October 1st, and it ends on December 1st. There will be cash prizes. You will get all kinds of fame and fortune. You know that song that David Bowie sang, Fame? Your life's going to be just like that and after you enter the film festival. So it's going to happen. Now, the question that I have for you is, should I not watch this? And should the Noble Alligator... Well, you've already got it up on YouTube, which violates the rules of the convention, the Geneva Convention. You did it. I'm just going to put it up anyway. And if you made one movie, you can make another. You already put it on YouTube, so it has to be a world premiere. Sorry about it. Sorry. Let's see. So there we go. I'm putting this for everybody to watch. I was just listening to your show, as I do almost every day, and my ears perked up when you threw down the challenge for everyone to make their own movies. I immediately remembered that I did make a movie, and I thought you might like to hear about it. A few years ago, my buddy Denham and I got to see Kevin Smith live at the Rialto in downtown Tucson. Kevin Smith is always preaching that people absolutely can go out and make the thing the way they want to make it. Such encouragements have made him a hero of mine, as with so many others. At the end of the show, a friend nudged me and said, "That was for you." He was right. I did want to make movies, but I didn't do anything about it just then. A few months later, Mr. Smith had his infamous heart attack. It just so happened that I was a couple of months away from making my first trip to Afghanistan. The two things together gave me an acute awareness of my mortality. My hero had nearly died, and I was about to go to the real-life version of Arrakis. Who was to say I might not meet my end? Oh, man. More importantly, if that was the case, why wasn't I making a movie? So I did. It's called The Noble Alligator. I wrote the script using a lot of wonderful monologues that my friend Tony, who stars as the mad scientist in the short, would come up with on the fly as I visited him in his office at work. Alligator is admittedly very Tusk-inspired. I'd made Tony and Denham watch Kevin Smith's Tusk the weekend before. The nonsense that Tony came up with after seeing Tusk was hilarious, so I wrote it down, and over the course of 2 weekends, Tony and I shot the short using my cell phone. Good man, that's exactly what you should be doing. I was just glad to have made the thing, but then it was suggested to me that I should submit my short to the Golden Gong Awards, a monthly indie short film exhibition at the Loft Cinema, a wonderful independent movie theater in Tucson. I only needed to finish my edit and copy Alligator to a DVD, so I did. One of my proudest experiences will forever be sitting in a movie theater and seeing my wonky little movie on the big screen and having it soundly booed by hundreds of strangers. I know that's not really the reaction you want from an audience, but it made me feel like one of the great hack filmmakers like Ed Wood or Tommy Wiseau or Kevin Smith. Listen, man, to elicit an audience reaction, even if it's boos in a theater full of people, you've arrived. I hope it's clear that I say that with nothing but love for my heart. I hope it's clear that I say that with nothing but love in my heart for all three of those filmmakers. They are film heroes because they made the thing they wanted to make, and they serve as cheerleaders for others who want to do the same. I know The Noble Alligator isn't great. It's not even good. The edit strikes me worse every time I watch it, although it sounds like the sound mix at least might be better than Tennant's. I made the thing, and it even got to have its moment in front of an audience in a movie theater, which is more than I could have ever hoped for. The Noble Alligator might not qualify for your short film contest. Tony is the only live actor, although I did provide the voice of the alligator, and I am proud of the puppet work, but I just had to share it and its story with you. I hope you enjoyed the movie, such as it is. Well, Scotty, allow me to echo the sentiments of your hero Kevin Smith and say, I think it's time you make another movie. And I think you should do it between October 1st and December 1st, and you should send it to me. Send it to me. Have it be a part of the Burnettwork Presents the Robservations Imagination Connoisseur First Annual Film Festival. Why not? I mean, you know what? You'll probably get it. If you do it, I can guarantee you will finish those films before Alec Peters finishes his 2 15-minute Axonar shorts that he's been trying to make for 5 years. So anyway, you should do it. Do it, do it, do it. As a matter of fact, all of you should do it. And you know what? You had that experience. I'm so happy that you had that experience. You actually went out and did it. You probably had a blast doing it. You probably had a blast putting it together. And really, it is the journey. You know, you knew that you're not making The English Patient or Rocky or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or Amadeus. You know, you were making The Noble Alligator, damn it. No one else made The Noble Alligator. You did. So good for you, man. Good for you. You made the thing. And, I mean, maybe you didn't make like John Carpenter's The Thing, but you made The Noble Alligator. You made your thing. And isn't that what it's all about? I can't wait to see what people come up with. I mean, I'm hoping this film festival, the Imagination Connoisseur, the first annual Robservations Imagination Connoisseur Film Festival, I hope it'll be fun, and I hope people will have the same experience that you just described. Because that's what we want. We want people to make the thing. And Scotty, thank you so much for writing in. What a great letter. And congratulations on The Noble Alligator. That's pretty dope. I think that's amazing. Now, hang on a second here. I just realized that there's some kind of shenanigans. I was about to come over and see what you guys are saying. And there's shenanigans happening, so I can't quite do that. Let me make a little adjustment here so there's no shenanigans happening. Okay. And there we go. And away we go. Okay. So let me click over to where we are at and see where you guys are at. Bum, 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 bum. Wow, a lot of people have been writing in. Let's see, where are we at? 19, 18. Baldwin's impersonation of Connery. I think I'll use Calvin. Calvin Bose sends in a tip and says, with the debate about cuties and the sexualization of kids, I was thinking of a movie from the 1970s that encouraged it, and that is the musical Grease. This film tells young girls, if you want the boy, you have to become a slut. I've heard that before, and yes, I think that there's a lot of people that objected to that. But you know what? I think that when I saw Grease, I knew when I saw Olivia Newton-John, not that I didn't love her in the beginning of the movie, but when she does show up clad in black leather with her hair done up, I mean, come on. There's a little bit of a fantasy element for all boys in that. Probably a lot of girls, too. So, yes, I agree with you. It might not send the best message in the world, but really she was just trying to get his attention. I don't think Danny Zuko would want... would want Sandy to be anything other than who she was. She just had to get his attention. And she wanted him to know she could be this way if necessary. But even though it wasn't her, I mean, that's what you want to know, right? Willow says, has the controversy and debate over cuties in any way affected your views on Sandra Wollner's The Trouble with Being Born? Ooh, good question. Should a movie like that have been made? Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so what Willow is referring to, The Trouble with Being Born, is a film that's basically it's a science fiction movie about an android that's built to resemble a child that is a pedophile owns it. And I haven't seen the movie. And it's very problematic. That's not the only thing that happens in the film, but it's a majority of it. And it's based on a literary piece. I think it's a novel. And Look, I find it interesting that we live in a world where these things exist. I personally have conveyed the story when I was involved with, there was a classmate of mine who I cared for deeply. When she was 16, she confided in me that she was being horribly sexually abused from the time she was 12. A year after I was involved with that, ended up taking her to the police station. It happens. And I think that I don't think that making a movie about something is any kind of approval of it. And I think that, it's very interesting to me that no one has stopped and said, this is a black woman from Africa, a Senegalese immigrant to France. And we're looking at it from a very American perspective. Our arguing about it is very American. And I think that we need to also take into consideration the cultural aspects of the film. It's interesting that the people that are mad about this movie immediately snap to, this movie's for pedophiles, when really it's about the overall sexualization that occurs with young girls throughout all of Western culture, and it's going on. It's happening every single day. And I know that, and I try and convey this to people, when you are making a movie, it is a very different thing than showing things like when you're shooting coverage. The people that are making a movie, they're not even thinking about, they're thinking about, do I hit my mark? How am I performing right? It isn't fun. Making movies like this, it's not sexually charged. Talk to any actor who's ever performed a sex scene on set. If they'll tell you, was I having a good time? I mean, maybe Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie might tell you something about making Don't Look Now, but that was the early 70s, man. You're in Europe and Nicholas Roeg's directing. But nowadays, the most unsexy places in the world are film sets. And so... But when you look at the film that you shoot, it's a whole nother experience. Now, am I defending the way that the film was made? No. I haven't seen it. Again, I haven't seen it. I need to see it. I was paid to see it, so I've got to see it. But I also think that the first question should arise, like, a woman made this movie. A woman wrote and directed this movie. A woman who's a black woman, an African immigrant who immigrated to France. And I think the question should be like, why did she make this movie? And you have to ask yourself, are you invalidating her experience by then turning around and saying this movie appeals to pedophiles? I mean, that's what about her voice? And that's what I find sort of troubling. Everyone's so quick to say, this movie's for pedophiles. I'm like, I don't think she would say that. And I think coming out of a culture such as that is a lot more permissive. I mean, Senegal has a real problem. The age of marriage for girls is 16 years old. There's a lot of child brides in Senegal. There's a lot of craziness as far as cultural craziness that's very different from us. So, I mean, I think it's strange how this woman's work has been pilloried on social media when no one's really, she's been taken aback by it because that didn't happen when it played Sundance and it didn't happen when it was in France either. So, but then again, I understand where people are coming from. There's a lot of people that have very legitimate concerns about the movie, and they're not wrong. So it's a tough one. I think what's important is to have the debate. Is to keep having the debate, keep talking. I mean, what's really interesting is, talking about something like this is important. And look, I don't expect people to have cogent debate on Twitter. I do try and have cogent debate. But if somebody wants to go after you, they go after you and it immediately becomes personal. You're canceled, you're this, you're that. And it bothers me because these kinds of difficult subject matters are exactly the kind of things we need to be talking about. And the discussion should not be whether or not Cuties is good or bad or the representation of the sexualization of young girls. We should be talking about how we sexualize young girls, whether it's toddlers and tiaras or dance clubs. I Googled last night, I Googled 11-year-old dance troops or something. I got 225 million hits, including video. There's even a Bollywood video that showed up first. It wasn't exactly squeaky clean or innocent. And this stuff is going on every single day. I mean, it's reality. And I think we should be talking about the wider, the bigger implications. But anyway. Willow goes on to say, but thanks, I appreciate you asking and writing in, Willow, about this. There's been a thick cloud of smoke over Vancouver, this is Willow again, for the past couple of weeks. I thought that British Columbia or Alberta was on fire, but it turns out to be actually from California. What the hell is going on down there? Well, I used to know that I'm hot, but Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. And in my 20s, maybe. But it's burning. We're having the worst wildfires ever, and it's bad. It's bad. I don't know what's happening, but it's happening, and it's not good. Stubble McShave sends in a tip and said, "I'm thinking of writing a story and use magic as a template. Imagine basing it on the Imperial March or one of Beethoven's symphonies. The intense parts of the musical piece would be reflected in the narrative, and the calmer parts would be the sequel scenes." That's interesting. You should. When sequel scenes, I of course mean the calmer moments between intense action and high drama where our protagonist may catch his or her breath and reflect on what's happened. Do it. Now that it's called Paramount Plus, they will only have one interesting TV series releasing 8 episodes per year. Yeah, is that the one about The Godfather? Benevolence sent in a super chat and says, "Is it gay to date a trans woman?" Why would it be gay? A trans woman is a woman. I do believe that. And why would it be gay? I mean, look, I am not the person you should come to, and I believe in all kinds of sexual experiences. I mean, I've seen some ladyboy porn, hot girls with big cocks. I'll admit it. I have. It's exciting. What can I say? All of human sexuality is exciting to me, and it's crazy that we do what we do with it because half of it's on our heads anyway. But yeah, so I don't think if you want to date a trans woman, you should. But you know what? I mean, if you're dating a trans woman, treat her like a woman and don't fetishize her. Let her be herself. Treat her like anybody else you would be dating. That's what I say. Because, fetishizing anybody, I mean, you can have your kinks and all that, but treat people like human beings first. I mean, look, if you want to fetishize them and sexualize them and let them know how much they turn you on in the bedroom, that's fine. But allow them to be the people that they are first and foremost. So, I'm all for it. I wish the two of you the best of luck. And there you go. Midnight's Edge After Dark sent in a super chat and said, notice the lack of Kurtzman in the announcement. I did notice that. I wonder what that means. I wouldn't say it means anything because they didn't talk about a lot of creators necessarily. So the announcement really was about Paramount Plus. So maybe we'll find out more about it later. But yeah, they didn't mention really Star Trek in terms of what they're going to do with that. I would think that would be a big deal for Paramount Plus, but who knows? Mr. Tickle Trunk sent in that's a very nice super chat, Mr. Tickle Trunk. There have always been anti-science biases, very often politically motivated. Depending on the topic, it's from every possible angle. The science runs contrary to my beliefs or my identity. I reject it. We humans are smart, but emotional thinkers. Mr. Tickle Trunk, for somebody who has such a funny name, what a very great comment to make. First of all, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And I completely agree with you. Look, I always say the universe is indifferent to your suffering. And I understand how people might think or what they believe. You know, science goes contrary to their belief system. But I don't know what to tell you. You know, I don't know what to tell you. All I can do is talk to you on this platform and go, I can't miracle myself onto your computer. You know, I can't have some burning bush that's going to bring me right into your home or wherever you're watching me right now. I need science. No one miracled our landing on the moon. You know, no one miracled your easy bake oven you might have had as a kid. All of this stuff came out of science. And I always found it interesting. I mean, you know, I don't think necessarily that, like, let's say, since I've been working on this project, that I've been thinking a lot about belief and theology and all of that. You know, what I don't understand is why the most religious people in the world are not always also the biggest conservationists. Because if you think about it, let's say that the earth was indeed created exactly as it is talked about in Genesis. Well, that would mean this entire planet is God's creation, which means wouldn't be the first thing that we as human beings wouldn't our first line of defense in terms of honoring our own creator would be to keep this planet as pristine as the Garden of Eden was? Like, wouldn't that be part of our mandate as humans? Would be to be the custodians of this closed ecosystem that sustains us? And why we're not, I'll never know. I don't get it. I don't understand. And I don't understand why, you know, the most religious of us aren't always the first people that are on the front lines to protect this environment of ours. But I agree. I think it's interesting about you people who what you said about emotionality or belief. Belief does not work with science. And the great thing about science is if you have a belief in something, a hypothesis, you prove it. And maybe a hypothesis isn't exactly proven, but if you can have repeatable, verifiable, peer-reviewed things, you can be most assured that it's pretty close to reality. I think that's important. It's important. It's important, Marion. Anonymous sends in a tip and said, instead of naming it Paramount Plus, it should be called Han Had It Coming. Why you gotta hurt me like that? Why? Why do you have to make me feel so bad? I thought this year I was going to see that Han Solo, killed at the end of the drift, killed by Jason Statham, didn't really die, and he was going to come back this year, 2020. But when I look back into my 2020 and I think, what are the hundreds of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of Americans, they're dead. You know what that means? That means they're never going to see Fast 7 or Furious Saga, Fast 9, whatever it's going to be called. They're dead. But you had to rub it in. Han had it coming. Think about it. Think about those 100. In America, they're talking about by the end of the year, 400,000 people might be dead because of COVID, and you have to rub it in. Han had it coming. And you're anonymous. You won't even say it you won't even say it to my face. You have to be anonymous. Very sad now. Very sad. Anyway, let's jump to Carlos Fontes is here with the super chat and says, I will never forgive AMC for not moving forward with Roadside Picnic. The pilot trailer was pretty fantastic and close to the source material. Okay, for those of you who are keeping track, Roadside Picnic is a story that was written by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky, the Strugatsky brothers. They're great science fiction writers, and they wrote Roadside Picnic, which was the basis for Andrei Tarkovsky's movie Stalker. That, by the way, you can get the beautiful Criterion Blu-ray. And yeah, apparently, I didn't even know that they made. I don't know how that slipped through my mind, but AMC did do a pilot trailer. Didn't they do the episode? I think they didn't. I'm not sure, but I think they might have done a whole episode, which I would love to have seen that. Although Roadside Picnic, pretty heady stuff for American audiences. Stubble McShave sends in a tip and says, I would be remiss not to mention that Unraveling the Pattern dropped his 4th video today, released so far as What is Wheel of Time, Part 1, the books, Part 2, The Great Pattern, Part 3, The Magic System, and Part 4, The First Age. No spoilers, great production value. All right, well, you know that Stubble McShave, I mean, I don't think there's anybody who's more excited. As a matter of fact, I think whoever's making the Wheel of Time series needs to call Stubble McShave and unleash the man on social media to promote Wheel of Time, because nobody would do a better job. So Stubble has said that. We've Unraveling the Pattern. I guess that's a YouTube channel. Everybody should go unravel the pattern. Captain Spire, I like the fact that you have the Israeli flag there. Captain Spire sent in a super chat and says, ever watch Neon Visuals' canon USS Enterprise meets the USS Discovery and their other Star Trek CG 4K intro remakes? Beautifully stunning recreations. I have, and I love them. So yes, I would advise everybody to go check those things out. Calvin Bose, our boy Calvin's here, to show how legendary Paramount is, the Academy Awards were originally started as awards for Paramount Pictures. Yes. I think Wings is Paramount, isn't it? Yeah. BL Alley's here. BL Alley says, I DM'd you a link to Alias Batman and Robin. Ooh. I highly recommend the Blade Runner homage Slice of Life, and the production logs are a must-watch for any aspiring filmmaker since they had very little money and space. Is that, if it's Slice of Life, it's what I'm thinking of. Is that the one that I think they're Yugoslavian directors, or I'm not sure. I saw a Blade Runner fan film at the LA Shorts Festival where our short Skyfighter played, and it was amazing. So, yeah, BL, I will check that out. Triakis. I've been to that planet. Triakis 305 sent in a tip and said, question on the movie contest, are the diversity restrictions a la the Academy in effect to qualify for the cash awards? Ha ha ha. This sounds like a lot of fun, and I will try and come up with something. There are no restrictions on this. I encourage everybody from all walks of life, every shape, size, color, creed, religion, sexuality, country in the world. I don't care. Any sexuality. Although, I should say I thought this would be, it goes without saying, I will not accept pornographic films. I can't do that, but I'm going to put that in the rules. No porn. Although if you want to slip it to me, under the table, not for consideration. I can't send porn out to my judges. But I hope you make something. RobFest 2020. You know what? I'll call it that, RobFest. But you know what? It shouldn't be about me. I'm just putting this festival on. I'm providing the venue, I'm providing the celebrity judges and the prizes and the fun. But what I really hope to do is inspire you, like the early letter writer who made his alligator film. Come on. I want everybody to try their hand. You got 2 months. You can do it. Try your hand at movie making. And I think that's fantastic. And let's all do it. So this is not Rob Fest. This is the Imagination Connoisseur Fest, Stubble. But if, maybe we can call Rob Fest. We can call it Rob Fest, I guess. But it's really about you. Mark C. sends in a super chat and says, I found cuties closer to Pretty Baby than Leon. Yeesh. Again, the message is there, but you don't discuss how horrific murder is by making a snuff film. Well, I mean, remember, when you're making movies, it's all fake. So you do make movies about killing people. It's just fake. Just like, look, when they're doing stuff on camera, if they're doing stuff, you're still faking it. I mean, they're not really doing those things. I mean, it's all And on some of the more objectionable stuff, like, during The Exorcist, when Reagan McNeil is masturbating with a crucifix and screaming, "Let Jesus fuck you," they did bring an 18-year-old in to shoot that scene. It wasn't her. So I think, yeah. Lynn Cooey Lucas. So, but yeah, I mean, look, but it's like, people make movies about horrific murders all the time. It's just they're not real murders. And I think, when you're making movies, I guarantee you, I'll bet you the girls that were making Cuties, they busted their asses, and especially learning those dance routines or whatever. And as I've said, people making movies, it's a very different experience than when you're watching movies. And for children, especially on movie sets, you have guardians, you have teachers. There are very strict filming rules for kids on sets. They can only shoot for a number of hours before they have to be let go. And usually parents are on sets with their kids too. So all the sets that I've ever been on that have kids, the kids were extremely well taken care of. I know all the horrible stories that you hear about the kind of abuses that go on in Hollywood are not happening actually on set. But, I understand where you're coming from. And Pretty Baby, that's a good analogy, actually. That's Lynn Cooey Lucas says the people outraged over Cuties should be even more outraged that Victor Salva is still allowed to make movies. That's a good point, but Victor Salva did go to jail. And with our justice system, theoretically, that once you've gone to jail and served your time, you've served your time. Now, I get it. His crime, he was pretty heinous. I won't get into it here. But yeah, he's continued to make movies. Anonymous says, the aim of Cuties is admirable, but I think you missed the mark when you cater to in the movie what you aim to expose. Let me read that again. Anonymous says, the aim of Cuties is admirable, but I think you missed the mark when you cater in the movie to what you aim to expose. I'm with you, but I would also say that, again, there's a cultural issue as well. I mean, in France, they don't see things always quite the way we do, especially in terms of sexuality. Now, I'm not saying that the movie isn't. Again, I have not seen it, but you have to ask yourself, like, a woman made the movie. A female director made this film, and I think that in itself, there's something to be said there. That, apparently people are seeing something that hadn't been seen in it up until this point, and it's hard for me to pillory a female director who's making a movie through her own eyes about the feminine experience, and the sexualization of children is a very real thing. That's what she was examining, and that's not all that the movie's about, I guess. But again, I haven't seen it, but I think these are all that's actually a very good point. Mark C makes a great point. And Lynn Cooey Lucas makes a good point too, and everybody's making good points. Jonathan Aldridge says, Rob, cultural difference is one thing, but do you expose kids in Western countries to be exposed to what kids are doing in Cuties? Again, I don't know. I don't know, but it's something I haven't seen it. I don't know. And then Anonymous says the aim of Cuties is admirable, but I think you missed the mark when you cater in the movie to what you aim to expose. But then how do you, if you wanted to do a movie about this subject matter, how do you do it without exposing it? I mean, I don't know. But again, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen the kind of reaction that people are having to Cuties is pretty interesting. And on one hand, I really like seeing this conversation being had. I don't like it when it devolves into personal attacks, but I think it's a great conversation to be having. And I think I hope it will lead to a much bigger conversation about the sexualization of children in our world, because it happens all day, every day. And I hope that, I think that, that's right. The Physicality Channel says, I used to like you until you decided that the sexualization of kids has good people on both sides. It does not. Sorry, you're on the wrong side of this, man. I'm not on any side of it. I'm not on any side of this at all. I don't think that the sexualization of kids is good. I don't. I think that the destruction of the innocence of children has led to many problems in our society. And it's a huge problem. The destruction of the innocence of kids. We don't allow kids to be kids anymore. It's terrible. So I don't think that there are good people on both sides of this argument. The sexualization of kids is bad. Period. However, that said, a woman decided to make this movie, and the conversation should be, well, one, why as an artist did she decide to make this movie? The movie exists, and you can condemn it, absolutely. You can just say this movie is terrible. But I mean, I think back to other movies I've seen in my life. Pretty Baby's a good example that Mark C. brought up. Solo. If you haven't seen Pier Paolo Pasolini's Solo, people were talking about a taxi driver, and there are kids. Larry, what's Larry's last name? The guy who made Kids. There's a lot of disturbing movies that have involved the sexualization of kids. Maybe not in this particular way, but again, I resent being said that good people on both sides. I don't look. The movie got made. It exists, and if it exists, we have to talk about it. And I'm like, do I condone this behavior? I haven't seen the movie, but I will say that when you have a woman of color who made a film about the experience, the question should be, why to her? Why did she make this film? And to have these debates. I mean, that's the thing. And when you say you used to like me on this one issue, is this the one issue where you're not going to like me anymore? Look, I don't like the sexualization of kids. I don't. But it's not like this is the first movie that has sexualized children and usually showed it to be bad. And from what I understand, this movie doesn't condone the sexualization of kids. I mean, I think that, but again, I haven't seen it. I have to watch it. I've been paid to watch it by a viewer, which I'm going to do. But yeah, I mean, I just think that it's a debate. Again, toddlers and tiaras, dance competitions. As I said, you can Google 11-year-old dance competitions in YouTube or Google it, and 225 million hits. And it's funny, the ire seems to be pointed toward this film when we should be trying to reclaim the childhoods of children and not allow them to grow up too fast. Not allow kids to be posting Instagram photos and things like that when they're 11. I mean, no, I'm not a fan of the sexualization of children at all. But again, I didn't make the film. I haven't seen the movie, so I really can't comment on the movie. But I find it strange that people are condemning the film itself, but there's not a lot of talk about the woman who made it or why she made it or what she was hoping to achieve. The movie is just being condemned outright. And I've seen that happen a lot, with films as I've over the course of my life. I mean, I've seen people go after certain movies and it's interesting. So, but again, don't say that good people on both sides. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying that one side, that Nazis are a good thing. I don't believe that the filmmaker who made this movie is a pedophile, nor does she condone pedophilia in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that's what she was doing. I don't think she was trying to make a movie that titillated pedophiles. I don't think so. And people are but then again, maybe she did. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. But I do resent the good people on both sides thing. That's not me. That's not what I'm saying. And the funny thing is we're having an argument. The film exists. It's on Netflix. So it's like something we should discuss. It's something that, and by the way, I think the discussion has been pretty cogent as far as I can see. And I think that's what we should be talking about. Movies like this can be used as maybe not just as a lightning rod for controversy, but maybe open up a larger discussion about what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do as a culture about the sexualization of young girls? What are we going to do? Are we just going to argue about cuties? I would like to see more effort being paid toward Instagram, TikTok, all the places that are showing the sexualization of young girls every day on a daily basis right now. That's where the conversation needs to go. We need to protect the innocence. We need to protect the youth that is youth. Kids are in such a hurry to grow up and ill-equipped to do so. And what are we going to do? Human sends in a tip and says, "Hey Rob, yesterday I watched The Shining, Hereditary, and Prisoners back to back. Yeesh. Hereditary and Prisoners for the first time. Do you suggest I watch Mary Poppins 5 times in a row or see a psychiatrist? Thanks. Well, it depends. Did you see The Shining, Hereditary, and Prisoners as a documentary or something you should emulate? Or did you find them deeply disturbing? Did you want to join the cult that was in her? Oh, sorry, that's a spoiler alert. But did you want to join the people that were at the end of Hereditary? Because they kind of were on the winning team in that movie. Then you should worry. But otherwise, I would say that was a fine afternoon of movie watching. Rob Korzak says, I watched Cuties the other day, and it's absolutely blown out of proportion. It's basically the Sand-A-Lot with a French sensibility of a perfect storm of confusion, culture shock, confusion of growing up, and wanting to fit in while being and seeing media. See, that's interesting. So, like, here's another person Rob has a completely different point of view. And this is what I find interesting, that this is the conversation that we should be having. Now, I don't think anybody should pillory Rob online because he saw the film that way. So it's interesting. So there you go. So yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. Justin Toner says, hey, Rob, the Criterion Collection December release is announced today. David Cronenberg's Crash tops the list. Looking forward to that. Friend gave me Argento Suspiria Blu-ray from Synapse. Ooh, that disc is amazing. So, I guess I can get rid of it while I have it here. You know, it's unfortunate that Criterion is putting out Crash, but they're not putting it out in 4K, I would imagine. I've got my German Blu-ray, thanks to Dieter Bastian, all the way from Saarbrücken, Deutschland. And I will get that Arrow box set of Crash as well to have that. But Criterion, unless the special features are great, that's a little too late for me because, hey. Let's see. But yeah, that's it. What else are they putting out? I got to go. Well, since now you got me curious and I'm here. Let's see what Criterion announced. Besides Crash, they releases 2020. Let's see, Criterion coming soon from the Criterion Collection. Well, this is old. Oh wait, there it is, December 2020. Besides Crash, what are they releasing? Oh, this is taking me to Reddit. Criterion upcoming films. Oh, man. This is just some spam. This is some bullshit. I hate that. Okay, here we go. Maybe this will just be a nice list of what they're releasing in December. Crash. Oh, you know what? I might have to get it just for that cover. Oh. They're also releasing Mouchette, Robert Bresson from 1967. Ooh, I'd get that. Wow. Symbiopsychotaxoplasm. Two Tales by William Greaves. I would get that. Amores Perros. Oh, I might get that too. Is that it? That's pretty good. 4 good releases. Interesting. That Crash cover's exquisite. So yeah, there we go. Paul in Long Beach says, let's be honest. The Venn diagram between those complaining about cuties and those whom never said a word about dance moms, toddlers and tiaras, and Honey Boo Boo is a full circle. Well, it's interesting. I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, there's a lot to say. Yeah. Michael Preston sent in a super chat and says, I sent in a chat yesterday you missed, but it was at the end of the show, so partially my fault. But I saw it on last night's Whining. Saw but not read. I think you will like. Have you ever seen The Legend of 1900? It's great. I have not. I have not seen The Legend of 1900. I will watch that, though. So yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Did I miss something did somebody ask about The Mandalorian? Wait, I think, yes. Richie. I did see, I missed that. It popped up. I saw that. Richie says, so the Mandalorian 2 trailer, which dropped this morning, does even suggesting that there are alive Jedis post Return of the Jedi inconsistent? Isn't Mando pre-Force Awakens timeline, and isn't Luke the only Jedi in the galaxy? Yes, it's undeniable what we want, so we just enjoy it for what it is. You know, the Jedi Order was slaughtered. But that doesn't mean there aren't other practicing Force users in the galaxy. So I don't think so. You could be strong with the Force. You could be practicing, and you weren't part of the Jedi Order. But I by the way, that trailer, whoo, that would look cool. I thought that Mandalorian trailer was dope. So yeah, I was all ready for that. I'm sorry I missed your chat, Michael. I don't know why. But I haven't seen the Legend of 1900. Sky Amazing Guy sends in a super chat and says, Rob, my man, have you heard reports of Pedro Pascal leaving the Mando halfway through filming season 2? Grace Randolph reported it. I haven't heard that, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's interesting. But if he comes back and does the voice, maybe anybody can be in that suit. But I don't know. I don't know the answer. The Physicality channel sent in another super chat and said, if I was beat up in school for 10 years, can I make a film where school kids get beat up for real, not staged, but it's on camera, so it's okay now? Well, I don't understand that logic, because when you're making movies, and there are plenty of movies where school kids get beat up, but it is staged. Movie making isn't real, unless you're making a documentary. And, everything that's done on a film is, remember, it's all staged and lit and rehearsed, and it's people aren't, they're not doing those things for real. It's all fake. But I don't think you can make, unless part of it is if you want to make a documentary about getting beat up. But I don't understand that. I mean, if you make nobody would make a film where school kids get beat up for real. I don't understand that. Like in Cuties, every shot's staged, and maybe for some of the racier stuff they didn't even use kids. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. Like you have distinct rules when you're making movies in the United States. Jonathan Aldridge says, kids should be kids, but it's the responsibility of adults to teach them to be safe and guide them to adulthood. Agreed. I don't think necessarily that in our culture these days that adults are doing the best job of that right now either. Jonathan Aldridge goes on to say, the intentions of the show Cuties may have been not what was seen, but the female director needs to show responsibility, and this applies to any director. I would say so, but do you not think that she thought she was? I mean, this is the thing that I find, like, look, I can't reiterate how different it is to be making a film than it is to watch a movie. I mean, one of the most fun places you'll ever want to be is on a film set for a horror film. And the more bloodletting and people getting chainsaws to the face, it's all fake. But you make it looks it's incredibly horrific on camera. But when you're making it, you're having a blast. And that's probably, like, I can only imagine the girls in Cuties were probably having a great time doing what they were doing. I don't know if they necessarily understood it. Again, I haven't actually seen what it is they're doing. I've only seen clips of the dancing. And, the way we see it and the way it was when it was being made are two very different things. And, I just don't know. I just don't know. I mean, there's a lot of material that I've seen in my life that's really objectionable, that in films, really objectionable, really disturbing. I mean, I don't know if any of you have seen, there's a movie that I've never been able to watch all the way through. I mean, I've watched this, but I can't watch the scene. And it's Gaspar Noé's Irreversible. And there is a rape scene that is the most difficult thing. I don't like violence against women. It's very difficult for me to deal with violence against women of any kind. But that rape scene, I can't watch it. I've tried. I can't get through it. I can't. It's the one scene in a movie that I cannot watch all the way through. Monica Bellucci's getting horribly raped and horribly beaten up at the same time. It's just awful. And, but it's fake. I watch it as a movie, as a moviegoer. It's so disturbing to me when I watch it. Or some of the things that happen in Martyrs, another very disturbing movie. But when I watch that rape, I know it's fake. I know that it isn't real. But the effect on me when I'm watching it, because there is verisimilitude there, I can't watch it. I can't get through it. Well, anyway, the cuties debate not going away anytime soon. I think it's a debate worth having, but I hope that it spills over into the real world where we start asking real questions about how is our culture going to stop sexualizing girls, young girls, and doing that to them. How are we going to do that? What steps are we going to take? Rather than argue about cuties, let's turn this argument into something useful and progressive and hopefully to change things in the real world. And that's what I'd like to see happen. But I want to say that I think everybody who has written in today about cuties, even the one that with the Trump comment, even that, I do want to say thank you for keeping the cuties debate respectful, cogent, and worth having. I want to thank you all for that and everybody that wrote in, because that's what this show is about. Even though I don't like it when people say things like I don't like the idea of being equated. There are good people on both sides. I don't think that's I don't think I'm at that place, but that bothered me. But I still appreciate the comment that you wrote in, and that you had the courage to write in, and I really appreciate that. And that's what this channel is all about. So, and I appreciate everybody. I don't know what happened in I don't know what happened in the live chat. Maybe people were going at it, but I do want to appreciate and want to thank you for all of your thoughtful comments. I want to thank you for supporting the channel in the way you do, whether it's super chats or, of course, tips. But also, I really want to thank everybody for writing in letters. I have more letters. I didn't get through them all, but there'll be more tomorrow. Remember, the Burnettwork presents the Robservations Imagination Connoisseur first annual film festival. And I'm going to post, we are having a contest for that film festival poster. Starting now, I will put the text that we need. I don't care it's all up to you. I just need the text on the poster. Anything else is all up to you. I have no, whatever you want to do. I just want the poster to be pretty high resolution, 300 DPI. And I want to be able to make sure that you can print it out. The dimensions should be 26 by 40, and then smaller dimensions thereof. And the winning poster, whoever wins, obviously we need to be able to use your poster, of course. It has to be property of the Burnettwork. We have to take that. But you get to be a judge. You get to be a judge. And we'll use your poster and everything, and we'll say your name all the time. So there you go. And hopefully, we'll see what happens. This should be fun. I can't wait to see if we get anything at all. But on that note, I want to say that every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. And with that, I say to all of you imagination connoisseurs, all of you gentle beings, all of you members of the Post-Geek Singularity from across the 28 known galaxies. Oh, wait a minute. I missed a super chat. Jonathan Aldridge goes on to say, I hope we remember that when a person is a child, they are able mentally to objectify and reason information, and they're not fully mature. Absolutely. That's why children must have adult supervision, and they must be guided by a sure hand. I agree. 100%. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, I will say, as always, I'll be back on the John Campea Show tomorrow. And I'll be back here. So, until then, have a better day. And make a movie. Make a movie.